At 2:03 a.m., John and his wife were heading home when a guy stepped out and blocked their path. He asked them for $2 to buy food, but John refused and kept walking. John tried to ignore him, but that set the guy off. His buddy came from behind and knocked John down. Then one of them stabbed his wife in the chest. They pinned John to the ground and beat him until he blacked out. Before they ran, one of them grabbed his wife's purse, and when John woke up, she was already gone. His whole life shattered in one night, but at least the FBI caught the attackers pretty fast. The FBI caught all of them within days. John recognized the one with a fly tattoo on his face right away. He thought justice was finally coming, but 2.5 minutes into the hearing, something insane happened. Fly walked out of the courtroom a free man, and John couldn't believe it. He'd pointed the guy out in front of everyone, and somehow this scumbag still strolled out untouched. Fly even winked at him on his way out, so John stormed up to the police chief and demanded answers. Turns out the whole crew was connected, so John didn't waste another word and left. Back home, John sat there for hours, and he realized if the law wouldn't protect people like him, he'd have to do it himself. He was going to get revenge for his wife, no matter what it took. He smashed through the back of his closet and pulled out a dusty black case that had been hidden for years. Inside were weapons, fake passports, and surveillance equipment, because John used to be a top-level operative. All that equipment was proof of the dangerous life he used to live, so he called his old partner Jack. Jack's intelligence network tracked down all their files fast, but the intel showed they worked for the biggest drug gang in the city. John had spent years trying to leave that violent world behind, and Jack didn't want him going back in. But John had already made up his mind, and nothing was going to stop him from making them pay. He wasn't backing down, so he used the intel to track one of them, a guy named Blackie, to a local bar. John didn't make a move yet. He just ordered a beer and waited for the other two to show up. Blackie had no idea he was being watched, and he even pulled out John's wife's stolen wallet to impress a girl. The second John saw it, his eyes went ice cold, and Blackie felt a chill run down his spine. He still didn't recognize John, so he grabbed a pool ball and whipped it straight at his head. The glass shattered, and the second Blackie saw John's face, he panicked and bolted for the door. John chased him outside, but Blackie started firing wildly the moment they hit the street. John dodged the shots and fired back, chasing him into an abandoned lot. But while he was looking around, something distracted him. A homeless man caught his attention for a split second, and Blackie used that moment to press a gun against the back of his head. But the instant Blackie started talking, John spun around and disarmed him in one move. He demanded to know why they killed his wife, because normal muggers don't murder someone over pocket change. This clearly wasn't a random robbery, but Blackie refused to talk, and he wouldn't give up Fly's location either. That pushed John over the edge, and just as he was about to finish him, Jack showed up and stopped him. They stuffed Blackie into a dumpster and set it on fire, but they had no idea someone was watching. Another low-level thug had filmed the whole thing and sent the photos straight to the gang boss, Remy. The guy thought he'd get rewarded, but Remy was furious that he stood there filming instead of helping. Remy punished him, then ordered his crew to find John and kill him and his dog. Meanwhile, Jack handed John a crate of untraceable guns and the latest high-grade body armor. With that gear, John's revenge plan was bulletproof, and now he just needed to find the last two. Jack cracked Blackie's phone and pulled up the call log, finding a number that got dialed constantly. He called it back, and it turned out to be a tattoo shop where the second killer, Jimmy, worked. Once he had the exact location, John headed straight there. He told the chief to make sure Remy's gang stayed out of his way, and then John walked into the tattoo parlor. He pretended to be a regular customer and made small talk with the owner, but his vibe was off and raised suspicion. The owner secretly texted Jimmy, and while John was getting his tattoo, Jimmy crept up from behind. Without a word, Jimmy reached into a cabinet and pulled out a gun. The moment he saw the rage in John's eyes, he realized who he was dealing with. John exploded into action, knocked the gun out of Jimmy's hand, and slammed him against the wall by the throat. He hurls Jimmy off the counter, but Jimmy grabs a machete and swings it at John. Unarmed, John takes a slash to the arm before he spots a box cutter on the table. He spins around, grabs Jimmy's wrist, disarms him, locks his neck, and finishes him in one move. Before leaving, John takes the bag of product the gang left behind and walks out with it. When Fly pulls out John's photo and demands answers, Jack suddenly attacks and drops all of them in seconds. The old man still got it. Fly runs for his life, and Jack's injured leg keeps him from giving chase. John calls, and they haul the 3 bodies to the dump and burn them. Staring at the bag full of product, they come up with a plan. They text Fly from Jimmy's phone saying they have the product and want to deal at the Nightshade bar. Fly knows if he doesn't get that product back, the boss will kill him. He shows up early at the bar and waits for John and Jack to arrive. Once Jack confirms Fly came alone, he and John open fire from both sides. After taking out the guys Fly planted around the bar, John corners him in a booth. He demands to know who ordered the hit and why they killed his wife. Fly says it was the boss's order, but why would the boss want a random woman dead? When Fly can't give him more, John ends him with a single shot. The sheriff's crew bursts in, and a gunfight erupts across the bar. John and Jack move like a machine, clearing the room from the booth to the main floor. Anyone in their way gets dropped instantly, and the bar goes silent in under a minute. John opens a file on the sheriff's laptop, hoping it'll tell him why his wife was killed. Inside, he finds the full story. The governor planned to build an oil pipeline. The project would cause massive environmental damage, so to calm the public, the governor needed cover. He ordered John's wife to write the environmental impact report, but her data showed the pipeline would do serious harm. The governor didn't care and tried to force her to falsify the report. She refused, so the night before her testimony, Fly and his crew killed her. Everything points back to the governor. Meanwhile, the boss breaks into Susan's house and tells her to call her father John right now. Susan says her phone's in the kitchen, and when she goes to grab it, she spots a knife on the counter. She waits for the right moment, then drives the blade into one of the guys standing next to her. Her friend tries to help but gets shot by the boss on the spot. To protect her son, Susan texts her father, but she is smart. She misspells her son's name on purpose, so John knows something's wrong. John calls Jack for backup and slips into Susan's house through the basement. He kills the wounded guy before he can react, but the boss grabs Susan as a shield. John has to kick his gun over, and just as the boss demands the product's location, Jack gets him in his sights. John tackles the boss, and they go at it. First, he killed John's wife. Now he is using his daughter and grandson as hostages. John beats him within an inch of his life, then puts the gun to his head and asks if the governor ordered it. Right as the boss is about to talk, a bullet punches through his skull. It is the sheriff, and his men storm in through the back door. But they forgot John brought backup. Jack drops the crew, and the tables turn again. The sheriff surrenders immediately. Now the whole picture is clear. John forces the sheriff to drive him to the governor's estate and uses his credentials to get past the gate. Inside, armed security patrols the grounds. The governor knew John was coming, but that won't stop him. John knocks the sheriff out cold and goes in alone. John fights his way into the governor's study and kills the last two bodyguards, but the governor shoots him in the back. John knew it would end this way, so he aims his shotgun at the governor without hesitation. Even with body armor, the gunfire tears him apart and he is rushed to the hospital. No lawyer shows up to defend him, which is basically a death sentence for John. His daughter rushes into the room and quietly passes him a weapon before anyone notices. The bald cop walks in ready to avenge his captain, but then Jack shows up dressed as a doctor and they take him down together. Jack already mapped the escape route. He throws a coat on John and grabs that bag of powder. They walk right out of the hospital and board a private jet headed for Istanbul. 2 months later, Susan gets a letter from her dad. He is hiding out somewhere beautiful.